Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Compass CBS Foundation's Economic Empowerment Series. These are workshops that we partnered up with our friends at Take Charge America, who for several years now have been delivering financial literacy education to small businesses in all of our classes and all of our workshops. And today I'm very excited to have our friend of the house, Matt Long, who's going to be giving us a presentation on how to successfully manage your debt. Matt, how are you doing? It's great to see you.
I'm good. I'm good. It's great to see you too. Good evening, everybody. Welcome.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, it's real interesting times right now, and it's a lot of focus on managing your money, whether it's in your business or your personal, or sometimes those are combined. So
yeah,
it's a great time to really see where we need to be.
yeah. I think it's so important to put a focus on the money that's coming in, the money that's going out. Who do we owe? How much do we get out? We have to keep track of all of that, and that's what Take Charge America does. Can you briefly just explain what Take Charge America is? And what is your role? What is your work through Take Charge
Sure.
America? We've been working with you for a while, but I'd love to share that experience with our
Sure,
guests.
absolutely. So we're a debt management, nonprofit debt management company, is our primary stuff. So we help people deal with credit card debt. So people will call us who feel overwhelmed with their debt, and we'll kind of do an initial scenario with them and kind of let them know what we can do to help them. If they go on a debt management plan and they do a full financial in the sense of looking at your budget, putting together a budget, seeing what you can afford to pay, and then you make one payment to Take Charge America, and we disperse it out to all your creditors. We also
That's
have a
great.
student loan department that helps
Mm.
folks deal with student loans after you have student loans. You know how to understand the forgiveness program, consolidating your debts into one, debt consolidation, all that type of stuff. And then we have a pre-purchase housing program. So anybody's looking to buy a house, it's an online program, an online class, just kind of gives you all the information that you need to be ready to buy a house. My role at Take Charge America is I'm the community outreach educator. So I spend my days now doing these virtual financial literacy presentations of about 35 different presentations. And I work with high school kids up to senior centers and everybody in between, businesses, all kinds of stuff. So that's what I get to do every day.
Well, it's great to have you, and thank you for sharing that. I know there's a lot of options out there for folks, and we keep encouraging to take advantage of Take Charge America. They're a nonprofit financial literacy education firm that can help you out, especially during these times. And so today we are going to be talking about master your debt, successful strategies to be able to accomplish and knock out that debt that you have. And today we're going to have Matt just go ahead and take over the presentation. Matt, the stage is all yours. If any questions come through, I want to make sure that you get a chance to ask any questions to Matt. I'll make sure to put them up on the screen and answer those questions. All right. So Matt, all yours.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Well, welcome to some debt management. We're going to kind of look at all kinds of different debt here. So go ahead. So, we talk about interest rates, and I know these could be different depending on your credit and your credit score, but I just want to talk about kind of the difference between bad credit or bad debt, excuse me, and maybe not so bad debt. So we'll look at an auto loan first. Depending on your credit, you could get that to 0%. If you've got really good credit, there's a lot of offers out there for 0%. I saw one yesterday for 84 months, which means you get to borrow somebody else's money for 7 years for 84 months and not pay them a dime. So that's a great way to borrow money. But if you have an auto loan, I look at it from this standpoint because, some people out there will say you shouldn't have any debt at all. And if you can get away without any debt at all and not pay any interest, then that's great. But, if you need a car, like to do your job. Now, today I don't because I'm doing everything from the house, but previous to COVID, I was driving about 2,000 miles a month, and the light rail and the bus service just wouldn't cut it for me. So I need to have a car to do my job. So I don't necessarily think that is bad debt. Home loans. Mortgage interest rates are incredibly low right now. They're creeping up just a little, but they're still down. I saw today below 3%. You could get a mortgage. And the nice thing about a home loan, again, I don't think of this as bad debt either, because every time you make a mortgage payment, you're paying down your principal, which that means a large portion of your mortgage payment is actually like a built-in savings account, because it's building equity. And when you sell that house, all that equity is your money. It's your cash. Student loans, they get a bad rap because so many people have student loans. But I look at student loans this way. If you went to school, got a student loan, gained some skills, whether it was through a degree or a training program or whatever it is, to improve yourself so that you could get it maybe a better paying job, I don't think that's bad debt. But if you went to school, got a student loan, and you went for 2 months and dropped out, and now you have that debt, that's probably bad debt. Then signature, credit card, title, payday loan, that's all bad debt. We need to avoid all of that. Go ahead. So when we look at recommended monthly spending, and I know this isn't a budgeting plan, but I just want to throw this in here. Housing, 35%. So that's your mortgage or your rent, insurance, maintenance, utilities should be 35% of your income. Transportation, 14%. That's gas, insurance, and a car payment. Debt, credit card, personal loan, student loan, 3%. Food, that's dining out, that's groceries, that's that Snickers bar from Circle K when you're having a bad day. Anything that you consume, 13%. Savings, it's at 15%. And then other, because I don't want to be a total Scrooge, 20% on other. So that's all your wants, all those things you want to do. Sometimes we throw medical expenses in there or childcare if you have those. But if you can be in these areas, then you're probably in pretty good shape. But because this is debt management, we're going to focus on the housing, transportation, and other debt. So let's go ahead. So usually 4 major sources of debt for folks are mortgage, auto loan, student loan, credit card. And that could be a home mortgage, or that could be a lease payment as well if you're paying for space for your business. Go ahead. So when we look at a mortgage, we look at the lowest interest rate possible. You get that with good credit. Looking at a shorter term, there's 15-year mortgages, 20 years, 30 years. Obviously, the shorter you do, 10 years, the shorter you do, the less interest you're going to pay, but the higher your payment's going to be. So I know a lot of folks that'll do a 30-year mortgage, but they'll pay it like a 15. And then if they have a bad month, they'll just make their regular 30-day or 30-year mortgage payment. Refinance mortgage insurance. So if you bought a home and you did not put 20% down or more, then you're paying mortgage insurance. And that's just an additional expense. So the housing market here in Arizona has really, really gone up a lot in the last 2 years. I mean, it just increased. There's a need for homes, and the value of your home has gone up. So if you've been in your home 3, 4, 5 years, I would maybe go on to Zillow or somewhere and just take a look and see what your home value is, and see if you have 20% equity. Because if you do, then you can drop the mortgage insurance, and that can be expensive. That can be $150 a month, depending on your home. It's usually about 10 or 5 or 10% of your actual initial mortgage. Prepaying principal, obviously, if you can make extra payments. Make sure if you do make extra payments that it's principal only. You don't want to be paying any interest with those extra payments. You do that in your regular payment. So you want to make an extra payment, just make sure it's principal only. With tax returns coming, some people get a large tax return, and every year they just send an extra mortgage. And I'll show you how much that'll cut off of your mortgage. Mortgage life insurance, that's kind of a personal thing. If you have mortgage insurance, life insurance to cover your mortgage. I did this when my children were young. My father passed when I was young, and he didn't have any insurance, and so we struggled as a family. When I had children, I made sure I had lots of insurance. It was term life, so if something happened to me when my kids were young, it would have paid off the house and had some money for college. So I see a question came up. Edgar, did we have a question? Oh, okay, never mind. You're saying send your questions. Got it. All right, and then the largest down payment. Obviously, if you can put 20% down, you don't have that mortgage, mortgage interest or mortgage payment, insurance payment. That would be better as well. Let's go to the next slide. So here's a 30-year mortgage, $250,000, 6.5% interest, which is really high. Principal and interest is $1,580. Total interest you'll pay is about $319,000. So you can see you pay more in interest than the actual house cost you. But if you make one extra payment, you reduce that down to $249 or $70,000 in savings, and your mortgage goes from 30 years to 24 years. So you can see by making extra payments on that principal, you can save yourself some money. If you get a mortgage under 3%, though, I don't know that I would put that extra money into a mortgage payment. I might put that into an investment, because investments are making a lot more than 3%. So you make that money work for you. Let's go ahead. So looking at auto loan, again, lowest interest rate possible with good credit, shortest term. You can do 48 months, 4 years. You could even do 36 years or 36 months. You can do 5, 6, 7 years out to 7 years. Obviously, the shorter the term, the higher the payment, but the less interest you're going to be paying. Again, the largest down payment, there's no real percentage that you have to put down, but the larger amount you put down, the smaller your payment's going to be. With a short term, the quicker you're going to pay it off, which means the less interest you're going to pay. Refinancing, I love this concept. So let's say you bought a car 3 years ago and you've got a 72-month, 6-year term on your car payment. And when you bought your car, you didn't have real good credit, and so you're paying maybe 6-8% interest. If your credit's gotten better, which I mean you're in the 700 range or higher, I would go to your bank and say, hey, can I refinance my auto loan and get a lower interest rate? Now, they're going to offer you to refinance for another 60 months or 72 months. Tell them, no, I don't want to do that. I've got 3 years left on my original loan. I don't want to go any further than 3 years, because every time you add a year on there, and I know it's going to look inviting, your payment's going to get like cut in half if you go back to a 6-year car payment, but you won't save any money in interest because those extra 3 years of interest is just going to go up. And then think about the total cost of ownership. I've talked to a lot of folks dealing with COVID, and my oldest daughter did this. She downsized. She got into a less expensive car. Her car payment went down $100. She saved a bunch of money on gas. She just got a smaller car because her car was just killing her in a payment, and she needed to get that extra money to kind of make ends meet. Go ahead. Mastering student loan debt, short-term consolidation. Again, if you go to school for 4 years, you're going to have 8 student loans if you took out student loans. And so there's a way to consolidate those into one payment. There's like 3 different ways. So we don't have time to go through that. There's also the forgiveness program. If you work for a nonprofit, you're a school teacher, work for some, any organization that qualifies, you can go on to the internet and just Google forgiveness program qualifications. Excuse me. And they will tell you, what it is to qualify and let you know if where you're working qualifies. Making extra payments, anytime you can do that. Again, principal payments. Right now, they've deferred everybody's payments. But I would tell you, if you can afford to pay right now, this is a great time to keep paying, because it's at 0 interest, right? So your loan's not getting any bigger. But if you keep making payments right now, then your entire payment goes to principal. Okay? Prior to COVID, let's say you had a $100 payment, and maybe 80 of that went towards principal, 20 went to interest. But right now, if you make that $100 payment, all of it's going to paying down your principal, which is paying down your debt faster. And then you could refinance your debt. Some people do this. Actually, when I had student loan debt, probably before most of you were born, I refinanced it into a second mortgage, because back in those days, you couldn't write off the interest rates or the interest on your student loan. And, the standard deduction was like $4,500 or something. So I did it to do the interest. But you could do that possibly if you don't feel like you're going to be able to continue with the federal government, because they want their money. and they'll garnish your tax returns if you're delinquent. They will take your Social Security checks, garnish your Social Security. They won't take all of it, but they'll take a chunk out of it if you're delinquent on student loans. So the federal government wants their money, and so that's an idea too if you want to get out with them. I would tell you, if you have any questions on student loans, you're not sure about anything, call Jeremy over at Take Charge America. I'm not selling you anything. The phone call is free. Tell him that Matt told you to call, and I've got some questions. He'll answer your questions. Go ahead. Mastering credit card debt. Probably the biggest thing I can tell you if you're having issues with credit card debt is to stop charging. Put those cards away. Don't cancel them. Just put them away and don't use them. Always pay more than the minimum each month. I'll show you an example of that. Negotiate for lower interest rates. With COVID, a lot of credit card companies are negotiating interest rates because they know people are struggling. So if you've got decent credit, just call them and say, hey, can I lower my interest rate a little bit? If all they can do is say no, okay? Make sure you have a card with no annual fee. I remember when I was younger and I thought, I'll be cool. I'll have an American Express card, right? It was like the card to have. But I was paying a fee back then, and you still pay a fee. There are plenty of cashback cards and miles and points or whatever you want to get that are free, no annual fee. If you're paying $50, $99 a year for a fee for a card, you got to charge a whole bunch of stuff before you even make back that $50 or $99. And then transfer balances to a card with lower rates. You may get these offers in the mail, 0% for 12 months. I've seen everything from 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, all the way up to 21 months. People ask me, well, should I've got $3,000 or $4,000 in credit card debt. Should I transfer that over to a 0% card? And I tell them, yes, kind of maybe, because it just depends. You've got to remember, you're making a commitment. So today is March 1st. If I transferred over for 0% for 12 months, I have till March 1st, 2022 to have that paid off completely, down to zero, not even 50 cents left over. Because if I don't, if you read the fine print, they're going to come back to today, and then they're going to charge me interest every month on the balances. So if I started with 4,000, I'm going to get 24 to 29% interest charged on that 4,000, and then on down through the last 12 months. So if you don't pay it off to zero, you've made a huge mistake. So just make sure if you make that transfer, it's not a bad thing to do because you're not paying any interest, but you just got to make sure you can pay the balance off by the term, by the time they say the free 0% is over. Go ahead. So here's an example, $5,000 credit card debt, 18.9% interest, $100 minimum payment. It would take you 8 years and 3 months to pay it off, and you'd pay $4,900 in interest. Look what happens if we just add $20 to that payment. So we pay $120, cut off almost 3 years, and just hit it again. You save, go forward one more time, Edgar. You save $1,711 in interest just by making an extra $20 a month. Go to the next slide. If you pump it up to an extra $50, so I pay $150 a month, I'm going to pay $2,100 in interest. I'll have it paid off in 4 years, or I'm going to save $2,700 in interest. So that they always give you a low minimum payment. They want you to pay the minimum. Like, oh yeah, I can send them $40, $50, whatever. But that's because they're making a whole bunch of money on the backside because of interest. So credit card debt, you want to get that paid off to zero as quickly as possible. Go ahead. Last resort loan. This is a Utah motor vehicle loan. You may not be able to see this very well. Interest rate on this, and this is an actual contract, 231% interest. Okay, they borrowed $500. As soon as you borrow the money, they charge you a $95 fee. So as soon as you walk out the door, you owe them $595. And then this equates to $17 a day of interest. So it's no wonder that people do title loans and 4 out of 5 ask, because title loans are short-term, 6 months. 4 out of 5 ask for another 6 months. 2 out of 5 people actually lose their car. This is not a loan you want to get into. I don't care if it's at 100% interest rate. Oh, that's a great deal. No, it's not. You're gonna hurt yourself a lot. I'd call Take Charge America for a free phone call and see what they could do before I would go into a title loan any day of the week. Go ahead. So let's look at some debt management strategies. You really can't do this. You want to get some help. So let's look at with personal debt settlement, third-party debt settlement, debt management plans, and bankruptcy. Go ahead. Personal debt settlement, the pros of that is there's no third-party fee. So you're not paying anybody to do this. You're doing it all yourself. It's an immediate solution because they're going to say yes or no. And what you're doing in personal debt settlement is you're asking your credit card company, you owe them $5,000. You're asking them to settle some of that debt. So maybe drop it down to $2,000 or $2,500 or something like that. Okay, which is a good thing because now you don't owe $5,000, you owe $2,500. You cut it in half just like that. So you'll negotiate directly with the lender. The downside is it will impact your credit score because the caveat is there in order to qualify for personal debt settlement or third-party debt settlement, which we'll see in a second, you have to be 3 to 6 months delinquent on your payments. So you already have to destroy your credit. And then you've got to pay taxes on anything that was waived over $600 because it's considered a gift. Does not assist with secured or student loan debt. Let's talk about the difference between secured and unsecured debt. Secured debt is like your car, motorhome, your house. It's all secured by something. Unsecured debt, and so like with your car, if you don't pay on your car, the repo man comes and takes it back. Unsecured debt is secured by your credit rating, your ability to deal with credit. And so that's your credit cards. So if you don't pay on your credit cards, you're not going to come take your sweaters and shoes back that you bought. It's just unsecured. Go ahead. Third-party debt settlement, it's the same thing. I'm just going to hire somebody to do it for me. And I will not be required to pay full unsecured debt, which sounds great, right? They're going to get some money taken off from me. That's fine. But I'm going to make payments to them over the next 3 to 5 years. It has an impact on my credit score because you got to be 3 to 6 months delinquent even to register with a debt settlement company. Creditors can refuse to settle. They can say no. Again, you got to pay taxes on $600 or more forgiven. Typically, these third-party debt settlement companies charge high fees. And it does not assist with secured or student loan debt. It doesn't stop the collection process. So if you've got something in collections, those guys are still going to call you all the time. Go ahead. Debt management. This is what Take Charge America does. We're not the only game in town. There's others, but this is what we do. So your unsecured debt, you'll get it paid off in 5 years or less. Credit card companies will lower your interest rate, and if you've been charged any fees, they're going to waive all those. It'll stop creditor calls because we're going to deal with them. You make one monthly payment, as I mentioned at the beginning here, and we'll disperse it out to the people you owe money to. Credit counseling agencies do not report to the credit bureau. So your credit score is not going to go down. It's actually going to start going up because you're paying down your debt. Many DMPs, debt management programs, are nonprofits, as is Take Charge America. The downside is it does not assist with secured debt. So I can't help you with your car, your motorhome, things like that. Some consumers may need more than 5 years. So that's not always a good thing. It's not recommended to take on additional debt while you're on a debt management plan. So I don't want you to get a new card, start running that one up. And does not assist with student loan debt. Go ahead. Then there's bankruptcy. Good thing about it, there's more than one option. You could do a reorganization, or you could try to get some debt forgiven. It will stop creditor calls, and you'll be granted some debt relief if you qualify. Okay, the downside is it does have an impact on your credit score. You may have to give back or give up some luxury possessions, so like a motorhome, a boat, something like that. It does not assist with student loan debt. It's difficult to get a mortgage for the first 5 years. I talked to Desert Financial. They said, we wouldn't loan you any money for 7 years if you have a bankruptcy. Chapter 7 can remain on your credit report for 10 years. It doesn't always have an effect for 10 years, but it can be seen, and you still may have to pay back some debt. Again, with bankruptcy, you've got to hire a lawyer. You've got to qualify for it. You got to go to court, and the court decides whether or not you get bankruptcy. It used to be really easy. It's gotten a lot harder to go into bankruptcy at this point. Go ahead. So let's look at a way to put your debt on a diet, okay, and not use any of these agencies and just do it ourselves. So here's how it works. Go ahead. So you may have heard of Dave Ramsey before, and I'm not saying anything bad about Dave Ramsey because I'm sure he's listening somewhere. But Dave Ramsey does what's called a snowball. And he would tell you to go after card 3 because it's the smallest balance. It's only $2,000. And the idea is that you get that paid off, and then you go to the 2,500 to get that paid off, then go to the 7,200 to get that paid off. We don't look at it that way. We look at it complete reversal. We do what's called the avalanche. We look at interest rates. So we're going to attack card 1 because it has a 24.5% interest rate. That's the one that's taking the most money out of your pocket. So that's the one we want to get paid off first. Then we go after card 2. Then we go after card 3. So in this scenario, minimum payment's $144. We're going to put $50 on top of that to get that card 1 paid off. We'll pay the minimum on card 2, minimum on card 3. Go ahead. So once we get card 1 paid off, then $194 a month, we would take that card. I tell you to put it in a red Solo cup, put some water, put it in the freezer. And so we're not using that card anymore. And then we're going to take that $194 and we're going to add it to card 2 because that's the next highest interest rate. And we were paying $50 a month on that card. So now we're going to pay $244 a month on that card. We get that one paid off, put it in the green Solo cup, put it in the freezer. Then we take that $244 and we add it to the $40 we were paying on card 3. So we pay $284 on card 3 till it's paid off. Take that card, put it in the blue Solo cup, put it in the freezer. Now, every time you open your freezer, it looks like Christmas because you're debt free. Now, with this particular car loan, it's 3.5% interest. So you have to look at your finances at this point before I would take that $284 and pay off my car. I know it's a way to get debt free, but if I don't have an emergency fund, if I don't have enough money going into retirement, I may not pay off that car loan. I may put it in those other places. Go ahead. So the last thing I would recommend that you do, and I make this recommendation on almost every presentation I do, take 30 days and track your spending. Look at your fixed expense, variable expenses, occasional expenses, discretionary expenses. You know, if you're going to work now every day and you buy your lunch out, how much is that costing you? Okay, if you buy your coffee every morning, how much is that costing you? Look at your spending. See where you're spending your money. Okay, because I have a lot of people that tell me, well, I don't have enough money to save. And I say, well, do you take your lunch to work? Well, no, I buy it out every day. And how much does that cost you? Well, I don't know, about $10. So you're spending $200 a month on food when you could make yourself a peanut butter and mayonnaise sandwich or a bologna sandwich or something like that and save that $10 every day. And now $200 is a great savings plan. So when we evaluate, we really begin to see. Go ahead. So in conclusion, identify your debt sources, understand interest rates, put together a plan to pay off your debt, create a budget that allows you to live within your current income, explore types of help available if you need that, but definitely try to put your debt on a diet today. Go ahead. Okay, I will answer any questions. You could go one more, Edgar. That gives me the survey. If they're so inclined to do that, just lets people know that I was doing something today. And please, please, please fire away any questions that you have.
Well, that was a wonderful presentation, Matt. More peanut butter and mayonnaise sandwiches.
Yeah, try it. You'd be surprised. It's pretty good. It beats mustard sandwiches, what I used to eat when I was a kid. So
I thought, well, this is also a cooking show, so let's throw out all the best recipes that'll save us money. I'm all for that. Great presentation, Matt. I think these concepts are really important, really critical for anyone who's already exploring taking care of their debt. Debt is one of those things that holds us back. It can hold us from chasing our dreams, but at the same time, knowing a strategy, having a strategy, and having an organization that can help you get out of that debt situation can really make a difference. Thank you so much, Matt, for sharing your expertise and sharing your knowledge around this topic. I want to make sure that I get an opportunity to also invite everyone to our next economic empowerment webinar with Take Charge America with Matt. He's going to be talking about Spend Smart, which is another great topic on how to organize your spending. I really am a big fan of your classes, and I know a lot of folks who've been in our in-person workshops have learned a lot from you, Matt. So thank you so much again for your time, and I'll make sure to share the evaluation link for those who joined in our class. We had some great participation today.
Perfect.
Thank you so
Great.
much. We'll see
Thank
you in
you.
the next one.
Yep. Stay safe out there, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.